I'm Diane Morton, and I'm so happy to have my friend Yvette Pourcia2 here with her friend. Yvette, would you like to introduce Ritzy to our viewers?
This is Ritzy. She's a yellow Labrador Retriever. She's my guide dog, and I call her my four-on-the-floor partner. She's 6 years old, and as of this June, I've had her for 5 years.
And would you tell us, Yvette, what are some of the advantages to having your guide dog? You told me you used to use a cane, but that you wanted to have and did get a guide dog. But would you tell us the reasons that you wanted to have the dog?
One of the reasons is there are some things, some barriers that you're going to encounter as a blind person, like, say, stairways on the outside of apartment buildings that are up in the air like this. Well, your cane is down here, and it's not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to find that with your cane. Whereas a guide dog is trained even to watch out for things that you might run into that a cane couldn't pick up. Also, a guide dog, for me, is a little short person, and you always hear the bad guys and everything. I said, well, they might say they can take away the cane and use it on me, but I think they'd be less likely to approach with have a 60-pound dog with me.
Yes, and you mentioned when we were having coffee together the other day about what a friend she is to you and a companion.
Yes, a friend, the companionship. If either I get lost or turned around or anywhere, I'm never alone. It's like you always have a friend. There's always someone there. Any new place I go to check out, have to leave family behind, I always have a friend with me.
That sounds so wonderful. And I was interested, Yvette, in my mind, I pictured Ritzy in your apartment of being on her, I'm sorry, how do you pronounce that or say that you put on her?
This is her harness.
Her harness, yes. I'm sorry, I forgot that name. But you said she is loose in the apartment.
Yes, and the harness is just put on just for work. When we're at home in the apartment, she doesn't have a harness on. She doesn't have this leash on. She just has a collar. She can wander from room to room as she pleases. The only room she's not allowed in because of safety reasons is the kitchen. And other than that, she can go wherever she wants in the apartment.
And would you tell the audience, because I thought this was most interesting, how long are the puppies with the families that, what age do usually that the family gives up the puppies that they have trained to become the guide dogs?
At about a year to a year and a half in age, the families have to bring the puppies back to the guide dog training center.
And would you tell about your first experience of going to California and how many of you were in the class and how they give y'all choices of what kind of dogs and temperament?
When you go for a training, there are usually 16 people in a class. You have 3 regular instructors who have trained the dogs that are going to be presented, and you have a supervising instructor. They ask you if you have a preference between the 3 breeds that they use, the Labradors, Golden Retrievers, or German Shepherds, and if you prefer male or female. They ask you where you're going to be working with the dog, and they take into account your height, your weight, your build, your tone of voice, that sort of thing. Ritzy is considered a very sensitive dog, therefore she wouldn't say work with someone, say, who sounded harsh or aggressive. It might intimidate her or break her spirit, whereas she works fine with me. And the instructors, when you initially get there, you're not given a dog. The first 2 days of the week, you're trained how to handle the dog. It's called working with Juno. That's the practice dog. And they teach you the commands you use, obedience commands, the guide work commands. And all the time they're training you with this, they're observing you because they've worked with the dogs that they've trained for 5 months. So all the time they're observing you, they're thinking about the dogs they've trained and thinking which dog will work best with you, make a proper, and they try to match up the dog and the person they think will work better together.
And how many days, were you in California for your training?
28 days. It's a 28-day program.
And is there usually problems that first come up, or since you did have a guide dog before Ritzy, did you just go in without any problems, major problems, or?
Well, there were no problems really. It was a little emotional, had to get over. Wedge was my first dog, and I had her for 11 years, so we had a really tight bond, and to give her up, and of course I knew that there was not going to be another carbon copy or clone of Wedge, that no matter how wonderful the next dog I'd get, it wouldn't be another Wedge. But the school is real wonderful. They just said that I could come, when they had a vacancy in a class for me, they just let me come right on in, let me know when that was coming. And
I imagine that's hard to lose a dog.
Yes, it was.
And how long was it between the time that you lost your first dog? And would you tell our viewers how a supervisor comes every so often to check, and that they told you it was time for Wedge to be retired?
You see, the guide dogs, every year they send an instructor out to do what they call follow-up. Yeah, baby. And that's just to see if you have any problems with the dog, if you're having any working problems, or if there's any special, like there's a certain kind of street crossing, you just can't figure out what's going wrong. They come to help any problems you may have. And as Wedge was going on 13 years old, they said it was time to retire her. Now, they were very nice to me. I was in college at that time, and they said, well, you can keep her till the end of this college semester. It was a spring semester. And if you can't find a home for her, you can, when you come to train, you can bring her back with you and we'll find a home for her. So it was hard. I had a period of time to get used to the idea that I was going to have a new dog. I gave her to a friend of mine who took her about a week before I left to go train with Ritzy. So I was just without her for about a week before I got Ritzy, but it was still, it was something to get used of.
We've lost pets, so I have such sympathy for you, but of course, particularly, in your situation. But you must, obviously, you found the guide dog to be so wonderful for you to go on and get another guide dog.
Oh, yes. I could not imagine being without that companionship.
That is so wonderful. And how old, would you tell us about Ritzy's age now? How old is she now?
She's 6 years old.
And she is such a beautiful dog. What grooming and how do you take care of? Because she's so beautiful each time I see her. She looks so gorgeous. What do you do about her grooming?
Well, I groom her, I brush her. I try to get in 3 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. I do it myself. I take her to the vet to get her nails trimmed. If the occasion is where she needs a bath, I go to somewhere like PetSmart because I just don't have the facilities at the apartment to bathe her. But really, since she's an inside dog, and what causes dog smell a lot is dead dog hair, and you get rid of that by grooming, she doesn't really need to bathe that often.
Oh.
Okay. Ritzy. It's the command forward. Ritzy. Forward. Left. Left. left, hop up, left. We went around the table. She cleared it like it was an obstacle. Hop up. Forward. No, don't stop and visit. Diane's chair, and then back to where we started from.
Oh, well, Yvette, it has been such a pleasure and such an honor to have you come and to share your love and your knowledge regarding guide dogs. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Mm-hmm.